The heavyweight division has always thrived on moments when promise collides with proof, when hype is forced to stand still long enough for reality to swing back. Moses Itauma versus Germaine Franklin is framed precisely in that tradition. A fight that feels less like a routine booking and more like a referendum on where heavyweight boxing might be heading next. On paper, it is youth against experience, explosion against endurance. A rising force against a man who has already learned how unforgiving this division can be. But once the gloves are laced and the bell rings, those neat descriptions dissolve, leaving only pressure, pain, and the raw truth of who belongs at the top. For Moses Itauma, this bout represents another step in what has been an almost unnervingly rapid ascent. From the moment he entered the professional ranks, the conversation around him has been different. Heavyweight boxing has seen plenty of prospects come and go, each introduced with lofty comparisons and bold predictions. Yet few have carried themselves with Itauma's calm menace. He doesn't fight like someone learning on the job. He fights like someone who already believes the division will eventually belong to him, and every performance is treated as evidence in that argument. His knockouts have not been wild or reckless. They have been measured, decisive, and frighteningly efficient. The kind that drain the suspense out of a fight before the crowd has time to settle. That sense of inevitability is what makes this matchup so compelling. Germaine Franklin is not a showcase opponent. He is not a soft touch designed to inflate a record or pad a highlight reel. Franklin has spent years proving that he belongs in long, hard fights. The kind that test not only skill, but patience and mental endurance. In a 10-round contest in Las Vegas, he demonstrated exactly that, navigating the distance with composure and durability, showing an ability to manage long stretches under pressure without falling apart. That win did not announce him as a future champion, but it confirmed something just as important in this context. Franklin knows how to survive, and in heavyweight boxing, survival is often the first victory. His recent run reinforces that identity. A 6th-round technical knockout against Devin Vargas in Detroit showed that Franklin is not merely defensive or passive. When opportunities present themselves, he can press, hurt opponents, and close the show. That performance, followed by a unanimous decision victory over Isaac Munoz in another 10-round bout, painted a clear picture of who Franklin is at this stage of his career. He is tough, conditioned, professional, and capable of staying focused over extended rounds. What his record also reveals, however, is a pattern of fights that stretch into deep waters rather than end abruptly. Against most opponents, that approach has been enough. Against Moses Itauma, time itself may be the most dangerous enemy. The central question entering this fight is not complicated, but it is brutal in its implications. Can experience withstand raw talent when that talent is backed by momentum and power? Franklin's path to victory is narrow but visible. It demands discipline from the opening seconds, a refusal to be drawn into exchanges that favor Itauma's strengths, and an almost stubborn commitment to patience. He must survive the early rounds, absorb the pressure without panicking, and hope that the young prospect gives him something to work with as the fight wears on. Fatigue, frustration, and small mistakes are often the tax paid by fighters who rely on force and speed. And Franklin's entire strategy hinges on collecting that tax later in the night. Itauma's strategy, by contrast, is direct to the point of being ruthless. He applies pressure early, asserts his physical advantages, and looks to impose his will before his opponent can establish any sense of rhythm. Heavyweight boxing has always rewarded fighters who control the opening exchanges. And Itauma has built a reputation on doing exactly that. He doesn't waste time feeling his way into fights. He cuts distance, throws with intent, and forces opponents to make decisions under stress. Every second Franklin spends reacting rather than initiating is a second that favors the younger man. As fight night approaches, the atmosphere around this matchup reflects those dynamics. Expectations are high, perhaps uncomfortably so, for Moses Itauma to continue his rapid rise. The narrative has been written in advance by many observers, predicting another explosive finish, another highlight reel moment to be replayed as evidence that heavyweight boxing has found its next serious contender. Franklin, in this version of the story, is cast as the obstacle, the measuring stick, the experienced professional whose primary function is to test Itauma just enough to validate the hype. But boxing has a long memory, and it is littered with nights when that script was torn apart. The division is ruthless precisely because it offers no protection from reality. Physical advantages, power statistics, and knockout streaks matter until they don't. Until a fighter is forced into unfamiliar territory where instincts are tested in ways training cannot fully replicate. Once the opening bell sounds, excuses disappear. There are no age advantages, no promotional narratives, only the exchange of punches and the accumulation of damage. If Moses Itauma scores another devastating finish, the implications will be immediate and significant. His rise toward heavyweight superstardom will accelerate, and the conversation around him will shift from potential to positioning. Names higher up the rankings will start to appear in the same sentence, and the pressure to fast-track his career will intensify. Every dominant performance shortens the timeline, forcing promoters, fans, and rivals alike to take him seriously as a looming presence rather than a distant prospect. If Germaine Franklin survives the early storm, however, the tone of that conversation could change overnight. Dragging Itauma into deep rounds would introduce questions that have not yet been fully explored. How does the young phenom respond when the knockouts don't come easily? How does he manage his energy, his patience, and his emotions when faced with an opponent who refuses to go away? A shocking upset would do more than derail Itauma's momentum. It would remind everyone why experience remains such a dangerous variable in heavyweight boxing, why resilience can still disrupt even the most carefully constructed narratives. This fight, then, is about far more than a single result. It is about momentum, credibility, and long-term legacy in boxing's most unforgiving division. Fans live for nights like this because they capture the sport at its most honest. There is no hiding from the truth when youth collides with experience, when hype is forced to exchange punches with reality. Heavyweight boxing, perhaps more than any other weight class, magnifies these moments. Confidence is rewarded, but mistakes are punished without mercy, often with consequences that echo long after the final bell. As the bout unfolds, every round will add another layer to the story. The opening exchanges will reveal whether it can impose himself as expected or whether Franklin can disrupt that rhythm. The middle rounds, if they arrive, will test conditioning and composure, exposing any cracks in preparation or focus. The later stages, should the fight reach them, will belong to the fighter who has managed not just his body but his belief, the one who still trusts his plan when fatigue clouds judgment. When this fight ends, the heavyweight picture could look very different. A dominant performance by Moses Itauma would signal that boxing may be witnessing the emergence of its next serious contender, a fighter ready to move from prospect to problem in record time. A resilient stand or upset by Germaine Franklin would flip the narrative instantly, reminding everyone that durability and experience are not relics but weapons, still capable of shaping the future. That is why this matchup matters. It is not just another fight on the calendar. It is a crossroads, a moment when trajectories can be confirmed or redirected. Heavyweight boxing has always been about these defining nights, the ones that clarify who is ready for the next level and who still has lessons to learn. So who do you trust more when the stakes are highest? Youth and explosiveness, or experience and resilience? Drop your prediction in the comments below. If you want more deep dives into heavyweight battles and elite boxing breakdowns, hit like and subscribe, and stay tuned for the fights that shape the future of the division.